Hi, I'm going to share with you the project management process groups and knowledge areas. These principles were defined by PMI in order to help us achieve a higher success rate when managing projects. Let's start by sharing these principles. In order for us to understand these principles, it might help if we can relate this to an existing to a scenario, to a project, so that we can relate it to these principles that we are going to discuss. The project management process group is composed of 5 process areas. Number 1, initiation. Number 2, planning. Number 3, execution. And 4, monitoring and control. And the 5th one is closing. Let's discuss this one by one. The first one is initiation. Initiation is when the project sponsor, the one paying for the project, designates a project manager to start the project. Usually at this point, a budget is articulated roughly, not necessarily a final budget, but the project sponsor may state an estimated budget at this point and also the desired completion of the project. The important thing at this point is to assign someone in charge, which is the project manager, to initiate the project and move forward. After the project manager is authorized, he or she may now proceed to the planning stage. The planning stage is where the project manager or managers start talking to the subject matter experts and start gathering information in order for them to decide how long is the project going to be, how much budget will they need to proceed with the project, what resources they will need, documenting the collected information during this stage so that it can be shared across the team, whoever is part of the planning stage. The planning stage is where we establish the detailed scope of the project. And after we have determined the scope of the project, this is where we derive the budget we need and the possible schedule and the course of action that we need to do in order for us to achieve the mission that we have been asked to do. For the sake of this discussion, we are going to use an example of building a house. So an example at this point is the subject matter experts might be designing, gathering information, making blueprints, and perhaps costing, doing some estimation so that they can determine the budget for our hypothetical project. The next part is execution. After you have done your planning and get those plans approved, you may now proceed to execute the project. This is the longest part of the process groups, where your team, your staff, your employees all get together to start building this, start constructing, to start delivering in order for the team to complete the work. While doing this execution, a process called monitoring and control happens concurrently with execution, and sometimes it loops back to the planning stage if there are lessons learned while doing the execution. Definitely there are some unknown things that may crop up during the stages of execution, where these unknown things may increase budget or even extend the schedule. But usually you go back to review your planning documents and then express these things in such a way that it might be you need to develop some alternate approaches to continue the execution of the project. When you finish all of these things, when you finish your project execution, you succeed in delivering all of the requirements that are needed for the project, then you may proceed to closing. Closing is where you complete the entire project, formalize the acceptance of the project, sign off on the project sponsor accepting the project. In summary, these are the process groups: initiation, planning, execution, monitoring and control, and closing. To support these process groups, we have 10 knowledge areas. The knowledge areas are integration management, scope management, cost management, schedule management, resource management, procurement management, quality management, risk, stakeholder, and communication management. Let's go through them one by one. The scope management basically defines our mission, the scope of work. What are we going to do? Using our hypothetical project, our objective is to build 1,000 houses. Project scope management includes the processes required to ensure that project includes all the specific work and deliverables required to complete the project successfully. It is like your to-do list. What needs to be done? Next is cost management. Cost management is about budgeting, funding, looking for money on how to fund the project, and managing it, managing the cost throughout the course of the project. The next is schedule management. This is about defining our schedule during the planning stage and monitoring the progress of work during the execution phase. We need to monitor this in such a way that there are no project slippage as far as the schedule is concerned. The next one is resource management. Resource management looks at the people that are going to contribute to this project. The staff, equipment, funding, those are all resources that we need to manage. The next one is procurement management. There might be cases where our internal resources, our staff inside the project team, cannot handle all of the tasks that's designed during the planning stage. So at this point, we might need additional help. This is where we subcontract other resources. We hire other people, we rent equipment so that we can still deliver the project on schedule. The next knowledge area is quality management. Quality cannot be simply assumed. It must be stated because project stakeholders may have different views about quality. Quality management knowledge areas may influence the budget, because whatever we decide as quality level during the planning stage must have a corresponding cost, must have a corresponding schedule, so it impacts these other two. So this must be stated and then monitored during the execution part. The next knowledge area is risk management. We must have a means of acting on unknown items in the future. These may happen. You must have the action items in case some eventualities happen during the stage of our project. For example, while we are doing this project, another typhoon comes and disrupts our work. There must be an action item, budget or scheduling action item that must be done so that we can go back on track. The next one is stakeholder management. Stakeholder management is identifying the people who might be impacted by this project. These are people that are not necessarily part of the team who are executing this project, but they might be impacted by the actions of the project team. So we must make sure that they are considered, because it might mean additional cost for the project or project's schedule slippage if we do not consider external stakeholders. Project team is of course part of the stakeholders, but there is an emphasis in this part because we really need to consider the impact that external groups or people may do to our project. The next one is communication management. This one defines how we collate information, how we disseminate information, how often, what are the mediums of distribution. It is important to define these things so that our team can consistently and accurately share information throughout the project. This is key so that there can be no ambiguity when it comes to sharing information. Because having vague information or perhaps missing information could mean delays in the project or conflicts in the project. The next one is the final knowledge area, is integration management. This is where we coordinate all of the knowledge areas to contribute to the process groups in order for the project to have a higher chance of succeeding. And if we are to employ all of these principles, we may have a higher chance of meeting our target. Thank you.